Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk about steady dipping. And so there's a couple of different things that I always like to try to do whenever I'm dipping a part down into the water. So that way I can try to get as steady as possible of a dip whenever I'm going down into the water. So I'm going to show you guys a few techniques that I use, so that way it'll hopefully help you guys out whenever you're first getting started in the hydrographics industry. So let's talk about a couple of different techniques that I use whenever I am dipping to hopefully have a lot better and steady dip as I'm going down into the water. So the first thing that we've got is we always have our divider setting up here, and of course we have our tank here. And so sometimes I may actually use the tank as a device to help me as I'm going down into the water like that. So now this is clearly an easy part to dip, but if I had a bigger piece or something like that, I can clearly take this right here and hold my arm and rest it up against the actual tank itself. And so then as I'm going down with it, it's a simple and easy dip going down into the water, almost like just a lever as I'm going down into the water. And so it makes it a lot easier as I'm going down. Now, let's say that we have something a little bit more complicated and we need to roll it. And so sometimes if you take and you set your hands down like this right here, you could set them on here and it's a little bit easier to roll it like that. But a lot of the times what I actually like to do is, instead of putting it on the tank itself, I'll actually set part of my hand down on the divider. And so what makes it easy is that I can set this right here like this. And so I've got my arm that is setting right on top of this bar right here. And so it allows me to come in whichever way I need to. Let's go ahead and flip this around here. So I can set this down like this, and then I now have a spot to where I can pivot like this right here, right? And I'm not moving anymore. So that allows me the ability to come down into the water and stop. And then whenever I go to roll it, I can just move my hand and my arm across the bar itself. And so of course you definitely want to make sure that everything is cleaned off, but you're a lot more smoother as you're going across like that, instead of like you may go like this, or it may not be as steady. So having that bar as a guide to help you with keeping your arms still, that is always a really good option if you have that ability. So another option that you have for making sure that you have a steady dip is going to be practicing with the part in the water before you have any film. Now, again, this one has already been painted, but in this case, what I would highly recommend is that you do not even touch it with any of the coating until you have a more comfortable feel on how you're going to dip this. So in this case, this is a cup that we would normally dip, and this is something that we would roll. Now, if this is the first time that I have ever rolled this, then I may want to go ahead and try to figure this out. So of course, coming down, going in, rolling, that looked good, but I did not go forward with it. And so this is where doing a lot of practicing will really help out, because then you can get your line straight right here and then roll it or go down with it however it needs to go down. But you also feel how the part is going down into the water, and you know what to expect whenever you're going to actually dip it the first time. So that gives you a greater likelihood that you're going to get a good dip off of the first time that you're actually dipping it into the water, instead of this is your very first dip, you have no idea what to do, or maybe you might have a little bit of an understanding, but you've never actually dipped this part before. So if you're just starting out, I always recommend to just practice. And so you can do this right here, simple, easy, and that looked really good. Now, if I was to go this way, that's actually floating just like that, as you can clearly see. So, but then of course it gets water in it. Now, so I know that if I was to start right here, going down and then into it, it's going to start sucking that film into this right here. Now, if this was a more buoyant object, then I might have to make sure that I'm ready to push the product down into the water instead of like something like this. So if I was to take that, I'm actually having to push this pretty hard to go down into the water, and I may not be expecting that. So always making sure that you're able to just practice this whichever way that you're actually going to be dipping it, just to get a good feel for how you need to dip it the first time that you lay it down into the water. So one of the last things that I always want to try to make sure of is that you have your hands in a ready position if you're needing to roll it or you need to maneuver the part or something like that. So what do I mean by that? So let's take this cup again, for example. Now, we just saw that we practiced it and we're ready to go. But whenever we go to actually go to dip it, I put my hands in like this. I'm going down, everything's going great, but then guess what? My film is down to right here, right? So it's where my thumb is. But look at what happened. My hands are not able to go anymore. And again, my film line is still right here. So what was the problem? This hand was not in a ready position. So I just grabbed it and just started going down and in with it, and it felt pretty good because this hand was just sitting like that. But I forgot that I needed to roll this. So whenever I go to roll it, guess what? My hands don't go this way very much. And so then you're going to run into, it's like this, and then you're trying to wrap it around, and before you know it, you're halfway down into the water trying to wrap this all the way around, and it's not going to work 9 times out of 10. So always make sure that whenever you are dipping, especially for a roll or even something to where you need to maneuver it going down in, make sure that you have your hand in a more ready position. So then whenever you go down and in with it again, we have our film right here, right where my thumb is. As I go to roll it around, you can notice how my wrist can maneuver a lot better because I'm in that more ready position. So again, if you're just dipping it straight down, probably not a big deal, but if you are going to be rolling something or you're needing to maneuver it as you're going down, like possibly a hard hat or even a cup like this, you always want to make sure that you have your hands in that position, so whenever you go down in the water and in with it, you can clearly and easily roll that, and it makes it to where you're not having to act like a contortionist or something like that, and then of course your dip is just completely messed up. So always make sure that you have your hands in a ready position. So hopefully this has really helped you guys out. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd always love to hear from you on anything hydrographics related, as well as if you have any other things that you feel like really helps you out in the dipping or keeping steady or anything like that, we'd always love to hear from those as well. Also, if you haven't already, definitely check out the website. The website has everything that you need for the hydrographics, from tanks to training to film and a lot more. We're gonna have a link in the description below so you can check that out if you're interested. Definitely hit the like button. We'd always love to have you like the videos. And if you're interested in subscribing, hit the subscribe button so that way you can have weekly videos of anything in the hydrographics industry delivered right to you. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.